So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminsky Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. Today, we're going to be talking about how to leverage hypnosis to help people buy your product or service without you even putting out an offer. It sounds crazy. It sounds unattainable, but I can promise you this 20-year veteran in the hypnosis space has been helping entrepreneurs build and grow profitable businesses ever since. And I had to have him on the show because he is one dynamic individual that is awesome on camera, awesome with his language, and man, he was probably what's the word I'm looking for? Hypnotizing me during the whole process. And I didn't even know it. So without further ado, I wanted to introduce my man, Jason Linett from jasonlinett.com. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing awesome, Henry.
Dude, so...
And on the hypnosis thing, I'll just throw out there once, just you're welcome. There you go.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So talking offline, we were scripting out the show a little bit, and I wanted to share with the audience how you got started in hypnosis and why you use that as the vehicle to go on to help hundreds, if not thousands of entrepreneurs over the past 20 years, helping them grow and build their business.
Yeah. And thanks for having me on. That the short version of the story was that my first interaction to hypnosis was that someone came to my college and did one of the comedy shows. And what was unique about it was that it was my friends that were up there. And that was every bit of proof and credibility that I needed to see. So I went on this ravenous route to go off and read and learn as much as I could. And I made a bit of a happy mistake that not everything I was reading was about the stage entertainment side of things. I was accidentally buying the books on hypnotherapy and the personal change work, which is where eventually opening up the business Virginia Hypnosis here in Northern Virginia. And what was interesting along that pathway, and this may have been the secret weapon of growing up in a family where everybody was an entrepreneur. So the whole thing about it's going to be slow your first year, or the fear that most new businesses fail, I didn't grow up with that. So I just kind of jumped in with the assumption that figure this out as you go and make it work. And that's exactly what I did. So what happened, though, was that in the wellness industries, people started to reach out to me to go, what are you doing? And I began to travel the world and do programs online, teaching the business of acquiring clients, building high value programs. And the lesson of this story is that your clients are going to look you up. So what was happening was that my client, the story that best illustrates it, she was a chiropractor who was in as a client, that as a hypnotist, she wanted some help to resolve a fear of public speaking. And it's the second appointment, and she's then in front of me, and she walks in with a binder. Of course, I have to go, what's that? And she goes, well, I saw that you give tips in terms of powerful presentations. Could you look at this? And I'm there thinking, you hired me for the fear. But as soon as I saw her presentation, it was, oh, cool. This is a great story. You should open with the story, shift this over here, make this your headline. And suddenly we were doing this punch up on the work. So it's where by listening to my audience, that's what really morphed into what I do now, which is that it's in one part, not just hypnotizing people to become more confident, but to think more hypnotically, to empower their language patterns, to step into their own excellence, and that ability to replicate that on purpose, on demand. And it's where one of my passions of the personal change work was that ability that it's not just about resolving the problem. It's about how resolving that conflict is the catalyst for something so much bigger and so much greater. And really, that's what I see as the possibility helping people to really 10x their abilities with their business.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You know, there's a stigma around the word hypnotic or hypnosis and hypnotherapy. I've used it a couple times in my career, and it's helped me minimize the amount of nail biting and things like that. I was mortified I shouldn't say mortified, petrified of flying in planes, and got over that real quick with hypnosis. So I really want to shed a positive light on, hypnotherapy and hypnosis, because it gets a bad rap, but if it's done and performed ethically like you do, you know, it can have a massive, massive impact on people's businesses. So I would love to hear from you. Like, how do you get over that objection where people are like, you know, I'm not trying to be scammy. I'm not trying to con people with hypnosis. You know, I've heard it all. You know, how do you handle that objection?
Well, there's two sides to that answer. And the first is one that, let's go ahead and address the hypnosis side of things first. We're no longer in the category of belief, like even to the point that if I've got a client who goes, well, I really believe in this stuff, even I feel the need to correct that, to go, and here's a resource for everybody for anything you ever want to look up, scholar.google.com. And to do a simple search over there, suddenly you're finding all this research around neurological brain scans pointing to exactly what's going on within the brain during the hypnotic process. So we've scientifically proven the thing itself. Above and beyond that, to now type in hypnosis and throw an issue at hypnosis and weight loss, hypnosis and pain, hypnosis and stop smoking. And suddenly you start to realize there's more than 20 or 30,000 peer-reviewed studies pointing to the efficacy of the work. So we're in a culture now where it's no longer the question of belief. It's a matter of understanding where the science is, what the research is now suggesting, and even certain categories that have just been proven. Look, if people did hypnosis for this one issue, they'd see a result faster than these other modalities and options that are out there. I think the bigger picture answer, though, and I think this is one that anyone out there with a business of their own could model and put into use today. I put out a podcast that goes specifically to the hypnosis industry. It's called Work Smart Hypnosis, coming up in June of 2021. That'll have gone out for 7 years, more than 300 episodes. The newer program I do is Hypnotic Language Hacks, which is about introducing hypnotic concepts to people in business. But the very first episode of Work Smart Hypnosis, like June of 2014, is the one to really model here. Because from day one, as I launched my business, everyone else in my industry was starting with dispelling the myths and misconceptions, taking care of people's fears of the process. And from day one of the business that I've run now for all these years, it was from the premise that there are people out there who are looking for this service who don't have those concerns, already understand the science of it, don't have those fears. Let me talk to that audience. And that's really what I would credit a lot of the success that I've seen over the years. I speak at hypnosis conferences. If there's one in the in North America, I've given the keynote at practically all of them. And you find these workshops about, quote, how to deal with resistant clients. And I choose to live in a world where resistance is a result of, one, a lack of rapport, and two, a failure to fully explain what the process is and how it's going to work. So the beautiful thing becomes, because I choose to live in a world where there are no resistant clients, there are only inflexible practitioners. And also my people who are reaching out to me don't have to be told, I'm not going to make you bark like a dog or cluck like a chicken. There's no loss of anything. No, instead, I'm speaking to an audience who has already made that decision. From day one, I was building the therapeutic side of things to go after clients who have already decided they wanted hypnosis. Then we're doing the research to validate, well, who would be the most qualified to help me? So this whole side conversation of misconceptions and fears and even resistance, I chose to not market to that world. And I'd say that's a big part of the success that I've seen. So focus your efforts in your business on your ideal client. To those people who already have, dare I say, an evangelical following of what you do without having to be sold on the premise of it. So those two sides of it, one, we've got the research to back it up, and two, talk to that audience who is already in alignment with what you're looking to offer them.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. So we are going to dive deep into how to get prospects buying from you before you even put out an offer of your product or service, right after this quick little message. If you're a coach or consultant who wants to start leveraging your personal brand to attract the right clients online, check out my Brand Yourself 5-day challenge to help you get the clarity and focus you need to create a brand that truly represents you. Visit www.uniquedesigns, with a Z at the end, not an S, .net/challenge. All right, so let's dive into this. So talk to me, Jason. How do we get these folks ready, willing, and able to buy prior to even introducing our product or service?
Yeah, so let's take the whole concept of influence and persuasion and hypnotic language patterns and break it down into 4 categories in terms of what are our communication mechanisms, which is the backstory to everything I'm about to share with you. Is that these are not methods, these are not principles that someone one day sat down and thought, oh, this is cool, I should sell this. They were not invented, they were instead discovered by tracking people who were already effective at what they did. And what I've done is to go through that material and sequence it in such a way that everything, hypnosis, everything, even NLP, neuro-linguistic programming for folks who have heard of that, it's often presented with a lot of jargon, a lot of extra noise, and a lot of, dare I even say, complication around it. But to systematize the process, we have to begin, first of all, from the foundation, that of emotional intelligence, how we carry ourselves. So let's go back to the story that I shared a few moments ago, that ability to identify with my audience based on those people who had already decided they wanted something like what I did, and to speak directly to them. Because even for those who may even dip their toes in a little bit of law of attraction work, if I was going out to that market and thinking, oh, but they're not going to want this. Oh, no, they think it's going to be this other thing. That was very likely going to be my result. So to build that dynamic resiliency, or as I even branded as that unstoppable confidence, that ability to center inside and draw upon my own best resources, which I love this mindset that our best emotional resource states are ones we can appropriately plagiarize from ourselves. Here's a moment where I'm on stage and there's 2,000 people in front of me, full standing ovation, and I can pull out that emotional resource state now on demand. Here's a moment where my daughter was only 3 months old. She had fallen asleep on top of me, and just as much as business owners, we deal with this sort of, task to task mentality. And in that moment, time stood still, and I can resource that exact emotional state. So we also have those moments where we have those raving fans of people in our business. And as the great philosopher Taylor Swift once said, haters gonna hate, where we might have that occasional troll, and that ability to not internalize that. Yes, listen to what criticism may be inside of that, but also to recognize what may be deeper inside of that messaging that we can use now to grow stronger. So it all begins with that mindset, first of all, of that emotional intelligence, not just how we carry ourselves, but also how we respond to the world around us too.
I love it. Can you take us through the other 3 steps quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So then from there, it's not just about turning on the camera and speaking dynamically and feeling confident and sure of yourself. It's also about that ability to connect with the audience in front of you. So we call this calibration. So this is where we're going to level up some of the thinking in terms of rapport, that it's not just about adopting your mannerisms or using your vocabulary to somehow become a bit of a chameleon and potentially, as this was taught about 20, 30 years ago, to trick you into thinking we like each other. This way you buy from me. No, it's instead about stepping into your model of the world to understand exactly what your needs are, what your challenges are, and even better, what your outcomes ought to be. So this way I can speak in your language. So this way we're becoming that cohesive team moving towards that goal. So it's where, just to put this in a hypnotherapeutic context, it's never from the place of judgment to look at the person who's smoking 2 packs a day and go, how could you do that to yourself? It's instead to look at this match between emotional intelligence and calibration. It's giving you something. And the only way that we can change this is to find a better way to satisfy that need. The same way that in business, whatever fears, whatever objections we may be holding on to, it's giving us some unconscious benefit. And as a business owner communicating to that potential business partner, that prospect, it's a matter of now finding a better way to satisfy that. So listening to people's responses. There's a cool thing I teach when I get into calibration, which I just have to give the title of it and just leave it at that, The Chunky Jedi. Which if that doesn't pique curiosity enough, I don't know what will. But it's the ability to ask the right questions at the right time. So this is not the game of having the clever closing strategy or the objection crusher. It's instead about feeding people's belief systems back to them ethically and effectively in such a way that whatever potential blocks they had created for themselves naturally and organically begin to crumble. This way that now the mind is primed, where the third step of the process is what we call the standard hypnotic language patterns, getting into, again, the sequencing, the languaging, how so much of this is based upon effective communication, where we all know those moments in business where it feels as if you know that person who's looking at what you do, you know your business could change their life, but you don't yet have the right words to inspire them to take action. Where we've all been in that situation where every box is checked, everything is lined up, the financials are not even that much of an objection, yet there's something that they're still holding on to of some belief system. And this is the ethical part of everything that I share, to teach a system in which now there's appropriately checkpoints, which now deepen that rapport, further enhance that relationship. Or if what we provide is not exactly a match for what they're looking for, there's a way for both parties to peacefully then part ways and then be better off as a result of that. So from emotional intelligence, how we carry ourselves, calibration, communicating with others, the hypnotic language patterns, having the right words at the right time, where the icing on the cake now becomes the specific applications of this. So it's where we've all learned some way of doing, let's say, an application funnel within our business. We've learned ways of selling on the phone. We've learned a few ways of writing for websites, crafting headlines for emails, yet to go back through that knowledge again, now with the specific hypnotic language patterns, now to go there and layer in these secret weapons of ethical influence and positive persuasion, makes it so that now some of the results of people going through my programs or coaching, the result now becomes, and hear this from the most positive place possible, it creates this environment where perhaps even you've had buying decisions of your own, where it became a courtesy that the person then told you what you were going to spend. You were already so sold on not just the process, but you had actually pre-sold yourself on the results. And by doing so, you bought a course and you actually finished the thing. And I know so many people in our communities have digital courses that are gathering dust, books that have even thicker layers of dust than this. But because you were so sold on not just the process, but also the results, you were already saying yes, you were already willing to sign, willing to enter the credit card data, even before it became, it's going to be 3 months of this payment, one payment of this. So by taking these specific applications and turning them on their side, by putting these hypnotic language principles and persuasion strategies into that, we take your messaging now and make it dynamic, make it magnetic, and make your message actually stick.
Woo, that's deep. You know, that's powerful stuff. You know, this is the stuff that a lot of people glaze over, and then they want to know why their business isn't growing or they're not attracting the right clients. Right? So you have two programs. You have the Business Influence Systems, and then you have the Business Influence Accelerator. I want you to talk a little bit about both so you can enlighten our audience on how they're going to benefit from those programs if they choose to enroll.
Yeah, and thanks for the opportunity to share those here. That the whole 4-part process I just described, that's exactly what Business Influence Systems is. It's a learn at your own pace, choose your own adventure library with lifetime access to it, where from the ground up, you're interacting with videos that guide you through that process of that emotional intelligence, where it's not just about hypnotizing you to become more confident. It's also about utilizing the skills to now teach you how to become hypnotic with your delivery. So then from there, getting into that calibration, even in that digital format, being able to interact with the material to begin to practice the content, to recognize that here's the reality of persuasion and influence. Just a quick side note here. We are always influencing. We're always persuading, even if it's the decision with friends about what we're going to have on the pizza or where we're going to meet and what time. So if we're always going to be influencing, I say we might as well do it effectively. So then to get into the deep dive of all the 24 plus hypnotic language patterns, to actually break them down step by step. And it's where I know that not everybody I speak to is in the exact same industry. So to have so many different examples plus a thriving online community there to back it up as well, where we do monthly hot seat opportunities, monthly meetups. So it's where the education continues. And then even getting into those specific applications inside of the course material for business influence systems, that's where I'm breaking it down step by step. High ticket phone sales or high ticket Zoom sales, as so much of the market has gone in 2020, getting into strategies for business networking, which again have gone online in the 21st century, and the abilities to now nail our messaging in a short amount of time. And it's where the old phrase is that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Well, the opposite is also true. By having the right words in the right order, we can start to craft and create these new images, these new pictures, these new perspectives in people's minds. So this is where even getting into the process of writing for websites. Again, stuff that we would often gloss over to go, well, the website looks good. Yet again, to ask ourselves, what is this specific piece of text conveying? What if just changing one word for another one? There's a principle which is embedded the whole way through business influence systems of what we call product pacing, where some people out there, if they've come across hypnotic language patterns or even NLP, they've come across a concept called future pacing, which is imagine there you are and you're already X, Y, Z, fill in the details. We can start to direct that sort of metaphorical spotlight in people's minds in terms of the business process by something that I call product pacing. What would happen differently in your business if all of your communication appropriately bypassed the decision point of do I buy, yes or no? And instead, the decision point was, what are you going to make use of once you're already inside of my consulting program, once you're already inside of my online education? And by selling people into that decision point of action, this does several things. One, it increases our bottom line because more people are buying, I found. But also, two, it encourages them to actually put the content into use. So Business Influence Systems is a learn at your own pace digital course where step by step, you're getting the details of how to break down these hypnotic language patterns, and even better than actually put those things to use.
Love it. Now talk about the Accelerator Program.
Yes. So that's for people who want to get there faster and easier. So this is where in Business Influence Systems, I have the opportunity through the group that's online to get questions answered, which is where I chime in, but then so do other members answer as well, where we've created our own community. If you want that one-to-one attention, I've broken down the Accelerator into 8 basic steps, and I'll highlight a few of them here. That so much of, I love this premise that the way you are one place is the way you are somewhere else. And to get into a personal example, I can go back to be about 7 or 8 years ago. And it's the time frame where I kind of looked at my body and went, yeah, I don't need to be carrying around an extra 30 or 40 pounds of fat. I looked at my relationships around, personal ones or even just close acquaintances or even my business. And I did a lot of personal work myself to kind of revitalize who I was and how I responded to the world around me. And I can draw a straight line to those decisions to where the business is now nearly 5 times the size as it was back then. So the second phase of the Accelerator process is what I call the hypnotic identity transformation, because it's not just about the marketing messages being the right order. It's not just about having these influential language patterns ready and confidently on the fly to make use of. It's also, again, back to how we respond to ourselves. So we focus so much about the marketing message we put out to other people. What are those stories you keep telling yourself? What are those old situations that you keep replaying that, one, you've positioned yourself as the victim of that story, and two, even though those events have passed, you're still filtering through those experiences as if they were today. So it's about helping you to shift that story in such a way that now you become the hero, you become the advocate of that story, which makes us even more prime now to get into things. I've got my own brand of self-hypnosis strategies, which I've had to now call hypnotic cheat codes. That the perception of self-hypnosis is I need a dark room and a CD player. What year is it? I need a CD player for 45 minutes to close my eyes and focus inside. But instead, that ability to, in a matter of moments, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. Thank you, Wayne Dyer, for that amazing quote. To immediately shift that perspective of the situation in which you're in, to which now every day I say this to myself, everything is an asset. So it's either every reason why you backslide and don't achieve that outcome, or it's every reason why, as I say, I got this. This is going to be easy. So then from there, now that we've done that personal transformation work, which is quite honestly what got me started in this entire industry in the first place, now we're more primed to really hack your message, to get into the messaging of your social media, your email channels, your website, some scripting in terms of video. So this way that now it's congruent. We've all heard that phrase that in business, the prospect can smell fear. They can also smell uncertainty. So now this way, your message is congruent with who you are, which then from here, we get into the icing on the cake of working on the systems engineering. So now that we've got that messaging primed, let's work together step by step to, as my personal hero, Ron Popeil once said, set it and forget it. I'm going to get me one of those Showtime rotisserie grills one of these days. I owe the man at this point. So the opportunity to turn on this push button system. So, as much as we talk about funnel marketing in our business, I think the message that so many people need to hear is that they need to position themselves at the end of their funnel. So many people burn out. So many people end up overstressed, and it puts a damper on their relationships, their abilities. The sort of final statement to all of this is that I meet so many people who go, well, I've got this situation currently going on, and that's why I can't do this right now. And as a husband, as a father of 2 kids and 2 dogs and a cat and every other responsibility that I have in my life, to now have let that become every reason why, it has become that ethical responsibility to make it easy for people, whether they're on their own, they want that self-guided tour, that's business influence systems, or the ability to have that secret weapon step by step, every part of the process, to even get into the influential structures of hiring our teams. So this way we get to step back and be that, this is my imagery in a very positive way, to be that ringmaster in the circus calling the cues, to then wake up in the morning sometimes and go, wow, look how productive I've been. Or the person who is responding to an email going, that's the exact message I needed to hear. Where it all comes back to, again, this 4 components of emotional intelligence, calibration, the language patterns, and then the specific application. So the accelerator is where one-to-one, it's you and I doing the work together to make this stuff happen faster.
I love it, dude. Dude, I am so happy that you came on today's show and let it all out, and that there's somebody else out there that is trying to make this world a better place through their business and really care about the results that they get for their clients. I had the privilege of working with you over the past 90 plus days, rebranding JasonLinett.com. And, I've been able to really dive deep into these 2 programs and watch you build them all out. And man, I got to tell you guys, you have to check out these programs. I mean, talk about comprehensive, talk about impactful, talk about being able to move the needle quicker, faster, more efficiently. Like, this is what Jason does. And the great thing about Jason is you're never going to feel alone. The one thing about Jason after, working with him so closely is this guy really cares. He really cares a lot about you and the success of his programs. And he wants to see you go on and do awesome things with your business. So I highly recommend Business Influence Systems. And if you're ready to just crank it up, the Accelerator program may be a good fit for you. So Jason, where can we direct people to learn more about each program?
Yeah, I tell you what, you got 3 extra minutes. I want to share something that people can put into use right away.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, good. This is a language pattern, which part 1 of this is here's a formula for under promise, over deliver. We love those moments we're on that side of the equation. Part 1 of this, if you can satisfy the mathematical formula that you have sold people what they want, and in the process of delivering what they want, you've given them what they need. Right there, that's under promise, over deliver. That's embedded inside of this language pattern, which I kind of stumbled on organically because I found I was using it, and it became the positioning statement for so many of my clients. So let me share this with everybody here. It's going to get mathematical for a quick moment, but it's actually very simple. Here it is. It's not about X, though we're definitely going to X. It's really about Y so that you can Z. If you can fill in those gaps, which rewind back and listen to that again to hear it. And I'll give a quick example of this. I had a credit repair specialist who realized he had a good problem. His clients kept coming back to him, which meant they weren't really fixing their money issues. They kept having to hire the guy. So he wanted to add on personal coaching, financial coaching as an upsell. This way, as he put it, yes, I've earned more money from them, but then they don't need my service again. Here's what we crafted. It's not about repairing your credit, though we are going to repair your credit. It's really about changing your emotional relationship with money so that you never need a service like mine ever again. Other examples I've crafted with people. It's not about fixing your bookkeeping, though I am going to fix your bookkeeping. It's also about understanding where your money is going so you have more of it at the end of the year. It's not just about having a few fancy patterns of influential language, though you are going to get a few influential patterns of hypnotic language. It's also about changing your understanding about presenting your value so that people are ready to buy from you even before you make an offer. See how we did that there. So if folks head over, I'll give you 2 options to track me down. One is that I do the Hypnotic Language Hacks podcast. Everywhere you can find podcast, even on YouTube. Subscribe right away, Hypnotic Language Hacks. And then for Business Influence Systems and the Accelerator and also the podcast, head over to jasonlinett.com, and I'll spell the last name Linett. 1 N, 2 T's, no extra letters at the end. Though for anyone who collects websites, you'll appreciate I own all of the wrong misspellings. They'll all bring you to the right place. And if you click over to Business Influence Systems off of the Jason Linett website, there's actually an on-demand workshop that in about 20 minutes time will teach you a method you can put into use today to empower your videos with even greater messaging.
Jason, thank you so much for coming on and spending time with us today and sharing what you do and how you help the world, become a better place. And again, guys, I give Jason Linett's programs my stamp of approval because I've been there for the past 90 plus days watching him build it out. And man, I got to tell you, it is phenomenal. So head over there to jasonlinett.com right now and check out some of those programs. You're not going to be disappointed. So have an amazing day, guys. And we will catch you on the next episode real soon.
Hey everyone, this is Henry Kaminsky Jr. again. And really quick, I want to invite you to a one-on-one consult with me right now if you're looking for the clarity and focus you need to build your brand. Over the past 13 years, I've served hundreds of entrepreneurs that have great products but struggled tremendously with articulating its value to their ideal customers. You didn't get into business to just change a few lives, did you? Your ideal clients need you. And when your brand has precision-crafted messaging coupled with beautifully thoughtful design that sounds, looks, and feels like you, they'll know you're the perfect match for them. If this is something you're struggling with, what I want you to do right now is pause this audio and go visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, and book your one-on-one consult call with me. Remember, the quality of your brand will determine the quality of your clients, and the quality of your clients will determine the quality of your life.